Hey guys, I'm Ryan Nitzen and welcome to the Cycle News 2025 450 Motocross Shootout. Now this year we have 6 of the best 450cc motocross bikes, 3 Japanese and 3 Austrian bikes. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty and break down what's new with these bikes and why we rank them the way we did. Now you might be looking around and think there's only 6 450 motocross bikes available, and that's partly not true. At the time of our 450 test, it is so hard to get all these bikes together at one time with the manufacturer support, and so you won't see the Suzuki RMZ 450 or the Beta 450 RX in this test. Those bikes are available to the public, but at the time of our test, we were unable to secure support or a bike, so those bikes you will not see in this test. However, moving forward, the Suzuki, the Beta, a new Triumph 450 is coming, the Ducati is coming. So in just a few years, this test is gonna be from 6 bikes to possibly 8 or 10 bikes. It's gonna be super exciting, and it is clear that the motocross market is where it's at, and there's so much innovation and new bikes coming this way.
Bet you're wondering how we kept these bikes looking so good for back-to-back days of riding. Well, thanks to Maxima's Ultimate Chain Care Kit and SC1, we managed to keep these rides squeaky clean. Chain cleaner, multi-purpose lube, and chain wax are our go-tos for drivetrain maintenance. And SC1 is an absolute must in the trackside toolbox. Thanks to Maxima for keeping us rolling. Now back to the show.
All right, let's break down who are the contenders in this year's 450 Shootout. First up, the 2025 Yamaha YZ450F. The YZ450F retails for an MSRP of $99.99 and has a wet weight of 241 pounds. The 2025 Yamaha YZ450F receives the first round of changes to the current generation, which was completely redone back in 2023. For this model year, it receives a handful of minor changes, including a new linkage, updated suspension settings to match, recessed control buttons, new foot peg brackets, and new engine mounts. Small and thoughtful revisions is what Yamaha says. Add in the Power Tuner smartphone app, and the YZF is as tech savvy as they come. Plus, it's the lightest Japanese bike of the bunch, more than 5 pounds lighter than the Honda or the Kawasaki. Next is the 2025 KX450, which retails for an MSRP of $10,499 and has a wet weight of 247 pounds. Kawasaki's KX450 returns for 2025 virtually unchanged after a ground-up redesign in 2024. The Green Machine did get a newly shaped air filter for added performance and durability, but aside from that, it's the same as last year. It comes standard with Kawasaki's ErgoFit system, a hydraulic clutch, a Brembo front brake, Showa suspension, and a full suite of electronics, which includes traction control and a smartphone app. It ties Honda as the heaviest of the bunch and tips the wallet as the most expensive of the 3 Japanese bikes in this test. Next up, the 2025 GasGas MC450F. The GasGas retails for $10,499 and has a wet weight of 241 pounds. GasGas makes up 1/3 of the Austrian machines in this year's shootout. This red ride gets an updated frame for 2025 along with new suspension settings, a redesigned air intake, and larger foot pegs. So what sets it apart from the KTM or the Husqvarna? Well, for starters, the price tag. At $10,499, it's the least expensive of the European bunch by $800. A BrakeTech brake and clutch system, silver wheels, Maxxis tires, and a lack of mapping adjustments reflect the lowered MSRP. The KTM group hopes that by offering 3 variations of a similar base machine, they'll ultimately reach a larger group of consumers. Then we have the 2025 Husqvarna FC450. The FC450 retails for an MSRP of $11,399 and has a wet weight of 240 pounds. The Husqvarna FC450 is arguably the most premium bike of the bunch and sports a price tag to match. At $11,399, it's the most expensive of any bike in this test by $100 over the KTM. This white stallion rides into 2025 on a new frame and graphics and stands apart from the other European machines with its shorter WP suspension, 5mm up front and 7 in the rear. This equates to a 1/2 inch lower seat height and a 1/4 inch less ground clearance when compared to the KTM. The Husqvarna also gets a full electronic system which includes 2 different maps, quick shift, and traction control. Then there's the KTM 450 SXF. The KTM retails for an MSRP of $11,299 and has a wet weight of 239 pounds. The KTM 450 SXF enters the lineup considered the race-ready machine in the Austrian fleet and is the same bike that won the 2024 Pro Motocross Championship in the hands of Chase Sexton. This year it sees the same updated frame which was introduced in the 24 Factory Edition, and riders will still find the familiar WP air forks, Brembo brakes and clutch, and a full electronics package on the KTM. At 239 pounds fully fueled, it's the lightest bike in the lineup, but the $11,299 sticker price make it the second most expensive, only $100 less than the premium Husqvarna. Then we have the Honda CRF 450R. The Honda CRF 450R retails for an MSRP of $96.99 and has a wet weight of 247 pounds. The Honda CRF 450R is arguably the most anticipated bike of the 2025 model year. With a 70% redesign, this red ride gets a new, stiffer frame, new airbox, and all new bodywork. The engine is predominantly the same as the previous generation and still sports 3 mapping modes with 3 levels of traction control. An MSRP of $96.99 makes it the least expensive of any bike in the class, but at 247 pounds, it ties the Kawasaki as the heaviest of the bunch. Jet Lawrence won the 450 SMX crown on the new 25, and the Honda techs are hoping to find the same success here in our shootout. 2 capable machines did not make their way into the spotlight this time around, being the Suzuki RMZ 450 and the Beta 450 RX. Due to time constraints on our shootout, neither bike was available for testing and unfortunately weren't included in our overall results. For 2025, we know the Suzuki is again unchanged. After being totally redesigned back in 2018, the bike has practically seen no changes even though it desperately needs them. In the last few years, it rounded out the pack, and with no real updates, it's not likely to move up in the ranks. At $92.99, it's the cheapest bike in the group by almost $500, but is still the only one to come standard with a Kickstarter. The mellower power character allows users to ride the RMZ close to its potential, and the slim profile carves up a smooth track with noticeable ease. However, once the track gets rough, the overly stiff suspension makes the bike harder to hold on to. Beta, on the other hand, enters its second year of motocross momentum with the 450 RX. The Italian manufacturer boasts the rideability tagline with new engine mapping, a new subframe, new foot pegs, and updated settings to their Moto-Tune KYB suspension. It is yet another red ride in the motocross lineup, but the blue wheels make it a standout. At $10,999, the Beta is priced in the more premium range of the market alongside the other European models. The 2024 model weighed in at 250 pounds fully fueled, making it the heaviest in the class if ran in this test. All right, now on to the results. In 6th place this year, we have the Gas MC 450F. The Gas is like a toned down version of the KTM and the Husqvarna. It's slightly softer, less exciting, and offers less than the other 2 Austrian bikes. Our slower riders didn't mind the softer suspension settings, and the throttle felt connected to the rear wheel, with overall engine performance being pretty solid. We preferred the more aggressive maps in the KTM and the Husqvarna, and the Gas is stuck in the mellower map 1 without the adjusters on the handlebar. Many of our riders favored the steel frame as it worked well in the hard pack conditions that we tested it in. The BrakeTech brakes are a bit of a downer, and the overall look of the silver bars and wheels are evident of the lesser price point Gas. At $800 less than the KTM, it just doesn't feel like it has the same value as it did before. In 5th place, we have the Husqvarna FC450. It's simply harder to rank the Husqvarna lower than the Gas considering what it comes with and without. You get the full electronics suite, maps, traction control, plus better Brembo components. The engine is ultra smooth and fast, like a velvety Austrian latte with a few sneaky shots of espresso thrown in there for good measure. The only thing that dropped it down in the ranks this year is its high price tag and low suspension. While it attacks flat turns with ease, all of our taller riders faulted the bike for its lower stance. It just makes the bike feel small and cramped. It's also the most expensive bike in the class, and when you have to nitpick, little things like that will collectively drop it down in the ranks. Shorter riders may love the Husqvarna, but it feels like it's built for a small niche of the market. Next up, the Kawasaki KX450. Close to the front 3 and in a bit of no man's land for our test is the Kawasaki KX450. It ranked first for 2 of our riders, but placed last for 2 others, which goes to show the variety of opinions in this year's test. This bike took a while to figure out, but once we did, the setting was spot on. We lowered the forks, adjusted rebound, adjusted high-speed compression, and tire pressure to fine-tune the green machine. The power on this bike is much less aggressive than the others. Our pro riders wanted more, our intermediate riders felt like they could use the maximum amount of throttle, and our vet and novice level riders were happy all around with this bike. The Yamaha and the Kawasaki could be considered complete polar opposites in terms of power. The Kawasaki is consistent all around and does everything decently well, but nothing stands out as amazing. In 3rd place and in the final podium position is the Yamaha YZ450F. The Yamaha feels like the fastest bike of the bunch. It's exciting to ride and does not lack for power in anywhere of the RPM curve. The engine was favored by all of the intermediate and above riders for its fiery nature and abrupt hit. With the Yamaha Power Tuner app, you can detune the engine or increase the power as much as you want, and some of our slower riders did this using the app. It's an easy experience to use the Power Tuner app, and it's easily the best one of the group. The KYB suspension is some of the most comfortable in class, and new finger adjusters on the top of the fork make it easy to adjust settings on the fly. The Yamaha is 5 pounds lighter than the other 2 Japanese bikes, and you definitely notice this weight difference on track. However, at times the front end felt too light and busy. Head shake was common for some of our riders, and the strong power paired with the light front end made them hesitant to really open this bike up. It ranked first for 2 of our faster riders, but a handful of 5th places dropped it in the overall ranking back to 3rd. The KTM 450 SXF takes 2nd place in our 2025 shootout. The KTM takes 2nd this year and was noted as one of the best all-around machines. At only 1 point out of 1st place, it never ranked outside the top 3 and is a bike that all of our test riders said they could immediately jump on and feel comfortable. The cockpit is neutral and feels familiar after just a few turns. The engine is fast yet smooth and controlled with the addition of electronics clusters like the dual maps, traction control, and the quick shifter. Map 2 was our preferred setting for its more aggressive nature and better hit on our longer, fast tracks. The air fork has also come a long way and rides just as good as some of its competitors. While routinely checking pressures is a pain, we can almost overlook it for this year's test. The Brembo brakes and clutch are top-notch and provide a consistent feel over our multi-day test. Each one of our riders said this was a bike they could buy today and race tomorrow. And its consistent scores for 2025 find it 2nd place in our overall rankings. And then there was one. In 1st place for 2025 is the Honda CRF 450R. No doubt that the Honda is the most improved bike for 2025, and its updates bring it to the top step of our podium. The Honda does everything well, and it surprised all of our riders who even had previous experience on the Red Ride. Plus, it received the most 1st place results. The new frame feels planted to the track and allows the bike to track straight even in rough sections. The Showa suspension works freely and didn't require a ton of tuning to get comfortable. The front end is a little on the soft side, but at least it's consistent. 3 maps allow each one of our riders with varying skill levels to select their power, and no one complained about it being too much or too little. The bottom to mid has good pop, and the mid to top transitions smoothly with plenty of over rev. The brakes and clutch might not be the best in class, but they work well enough to not get docked. Our only complaint was the Honda's weight. At 247 pounds, you definitely feel it picking it up or getting it off the stand. On track though, the weight is well distributed and the bike doesn't feel as noticeably heavy as it does here in the garage. This bike received the most consistent rankings and was felt to be the most comfortable in the widest variety of track conditions. We ride these bikes on a perfectly groomed track in the morning and then a beat up track late in the day. Some of the bikes feel absolutely amazing when the track is smooth, but their results fall off when the track roughens up. The Honda, however, maintained its composure throughout the duration of our test and had the most consistent results in the morning and in the afternoon from all of our riders. All of these bikes could be fixed per se, with fine-tuned suspension, an ECU, a pipe, and your favorite handlebar bend. But that's just not how it goes. There was no overwhelmingly clear winner like we've had in the years past, and we're forced to factor in things like price tags, components, and a variety of rider opinions. As always, you can read about this test in the Cycle News magazine, which comes out for free every Monday night at cyclenews.com. Drop a comment below and let us know which bike you think should win the 2025 Motocross Shootout. And until next time, we'll see you guys out at the track.